to Building Public University. Um, I am your host, Leo Guinan, and look at me, I'm even remembering to introduce myself here. Um, so, today's topic is all about the introduction to Hackathon Training Camp. And we'll get started here by first of all taking a look at the impetus for this project. Um, and actually, that's not even the right one. Um, so I don't know if you've seen the ads on Twitter. I know I have because I am their target demographic. And I've interacted with the poster on the hackathon, and so they have definitely targeted me. Um, but basically, Bolt is the presenting sponsor of this world record hackathon that they are kicking off. The official kickoff starts May 30th, right? So basically, we've got the month of May, and then there's going to be this month long hackathon with over $1 million in prizes, all sorts of attention coming in. And so I think that this is a perfect opportunity for people who are sick and tired of kind of the bullshit economics of jobs and corporate life right now because it fucking sucks. It's not a good experience. Companies are letting go of people. Everybody's financial health is at risk. Unless you're able to overcome that. And if you're able to overcome that, you're probably not that interested in this. But if you've been thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or, starting a side hustle, kind of however you want to frame it, becoming an indie hacker, becoming a creator, I think this hackathon is a perfect opportunity to create something and put it out into the world and make good things happen. And so I dedicated the month of May to kind of launching this new community and this new initiative around Building Public University. So I haven't been live streaming the past few weeks. I've taken a little break as I've kind of gotten things planned and implemented, kind of behind the scenes. And so we're back today with this introduction to this hackathon training camp that we're doing with Building Public University. And what we want to do is we want to put in the reps for this hackathon because during the hackathon, I don't want people who go through the training camp to have to figure out what a hackathon is. I don't want them to figure out how to craft an idea. No, this is the lead up to the hackathon. I'm getting all this information, I'm compiling it, I'm shrinking it down, and I'm putting it into the Heartbeat community that I've started here. And so we've got Building Public University. And I really want to open up the idea of this hackathon to people who don't know what a hackathon is. And I wanted to do this for a couple reasons. But first and foremost, it's because I love hackathons. I think they are the coolest thing ever. And I'm really sad that I don't get to really participate in more of them. I don't have friends who do them because my friends aren't in tech. They're not entrepreneurs. They're not, typically doing that sort of thing. And so I was like, I want a way to share these ideas with my friends. I want to bring my friends into the idea of a hackathon. And with AI and everything like that, anybody can kind of build whatever they want. And so a lot of the research I've been doing independently is along this idea of how do we take an idea to market? Because basically the thesis that I'm working from is that for any sort of product, there exists a like smaller information only product. And so as I'm kind of working and building out this go-to-market agency, we're looking at how we can compress the idea that a company has and turn that into an idea that we take to market, essentially as a media brand. And this is how you have to think in like the current age of media that we live in, because you have to be able to get ideas to market. You have to be able to get ideas into the heads of people who will be able to do something with that, hopefully make a buying decision. But there's all sorts of stuff that goes into that. And I think it's really easy to overcomplicate a lot of this stuff. And so instead of like complicating all of it, I wanted to say let's just simplify everything, make it as easy as possible to understand exactly what a hackathon is, exactly what a business is. We're going to break everything down into really tight first principles that we can use to build out this business structure that we're going to create for ourselves. And this is modeled on this idea that I've created for myself called the personal enterprise. And it's basically, thinking about your life as the CEO, the one who has to think strategically in your decision making to maximize the value of your shareholders. And by shareholders, I mean your friends. And that's why, as one of the things that I'm going to be talking about here a bit later, we're going to include friends in this process because I think all too often, friends get lost in the shuffle. It's becoming this very, very individualist world. And I fall victim to it all the time where I'm so focused on like the stuff that I'm doing, because like I just don't have a lot of extra space in my life right now to do everything because I've put kind of all of my eggs into this basket. And so because of that, I haven't been as great with staying connected and really working with the friends that I've got. And so I want to bring them into this as part of this process. And in fact, we're going to have some guests throughout the training camp, that are my friends, and we're going to talk to them about hackathons and the process and kind of what we're doing. And we're going to introduce them to the idea too. So we're going to bring in the non-technical people, and we're going to show them what a hackathon is. We're going to help them figure out how to take advantage of a hackathon, especially a really large one like the one that's happening at the, kicking off here in a couple days. They've got like a concert out in SF. I was hoping I would be able to make it, but unfortunately, not going to be able to get out there for the Chainsmokers. Um, but instead, I'll just find a couple chain smokers, here in kind of rural Ohio, and it'll be pretty much the same as that concert. I'm pretty sure. So anyway, when I'm looking at a hackathon here, I love it because there's just all of this what I call builder energy. Nothing compares to the energy you get from a bunch of builders in a room and everybody just working to create something and tuning out the rest of the world. Because hackathons tend to be time constrained, and a lot of times they're like 24, 48 hours. In this case, it's a month long, so you're not going to be able to focus probably everything on it, for a month straight. If you can, please let me know what kind of drugs you're on. I'm certainly interested because, damn. Um, so we're not going to quite go about it in that sense, and in fact, I'm going to take it from the opposite sense. I want to use this hackathon to build a business that can be easily run and maintained by a burnt out knowledge worker because that's what I am. Um, One of the things that I've really been thinking about lately is the idea of how are we valuable when we lose the skill that we value in ourselves and that the world values about us. So, I was a corporate software engineer for a decade, and got pretty burnt out on that to the point where I realized that I had to quit. And so I quit and I launched a startup. It failed quite miserably because I had no clue what I'm doing. Because again, I don't have friends that are startup people. Actually, back at the beginning of this, I really didn't have any friends, that I could like rely on or talk to for anything because I wasn't good at making friends. I've been improving on that. And so a lot of the friends that you'll be meeting here, actually all the friends will probably be friends that I've made in the last few years because this has really been a focus of this. Um, but one of the things I realized is that I was really a burnt out software engineer. And so as I'm trying to build out a startup for the first time, having no idea what I'm doing, I also can't fucking build. I can't focus on being able to write code that does a thing. And so I had to figure out ways to like kind of get really creative with kind of some of the prototypes I could build because like I just couldn't get myself to like focus in on this code base and being able to engineer that. And so it was a lot easier for me to just kind of manipulate the ideas and explore those. And over time, I realized this is actually an incredibly powerful skill, especially with AI, because you can do so much of the work in this ideation phase. And so you can kind of pop up ideas very quickly and like spin them down. Um, and because I'm just not attached to any ideas anymore, I don't want to do the work. Um, One of the things that I've had in the past that I've run into issues with is that like I love doing the work so much that I would like really throw myself into the work for the companies that I was working for. Um, and now I can't do that for myself, which is this lovely irony that the economy has gifted me. Um, which sucks because that was how I completely valued myself, and it's how the economy valued me. And it was really easy to kind of like work my way up the ladder. Um, I started off at a college, like a salary of about 68K a year, I think was my first. Maybe it was 60. And then maybe, I think it was 60, then it bumped to 68. That sounds right. So I think I started off at 60. Um, and, at that point, I had a goal of making like six figures because, who needs more than six figures, right? Like, whatever. I never made more than $10 an hour or whatever before that. Um, Except then I also had a kid on the way, and that was crazy times. Actually, I already had a kid that first time already by the time I got that first good job. But anyway, there was a lot of like craziness there, and I was able to just kind of work my way up, and I got up to a salary of 120,000. Um, and then I realized that I just kept doing more and more work and was being rewarded with nothing, like except more work. And from all of that, like I got an incredibly great understanding of systems and data flow, and kind of like ML processes and how they can be used to uncover insights. Um, and so all of that was pretty cool. But like they didn't care about me. They only cared about what I could do for them, and they got as much of that out of me as they could. And then I went to them with an idea because I was like, hey, like actually I think we could do something better here. And they're like, oh yeah, no, we're not gonna do that, but you're gonna keep doing the stuff that we're giving you. But if you do anything of your own, we're gonna own that too. Um, and so when I say things like fuck corporate, it comes from a place of real emotion because fuck corporate. Um, and Yeah, so I burnt out in corporate and then kind of, ran my own startup into the ground. Um, well, I wouldn't say ran it into the ground, never got it off the ground. Um, but I learned a ton because I had to. Because again, I don't have people in my life who do this stuff, so I've had to just figure it all the fuck out. Um, and eventually, after shutting down that first startup, I got a job at Copy AI. Um, and I was early there, and that was really cool because for the first time I was at work with Builder Energy. Before this, I had only seen Builder Energy on Twitter and at hackathons. And actually, a hackathon was what triggered kind of all of this for me. Before I had kind of this core idea about the nature of money, um, I had joined a couple hackathons and just realized like how much fun I had actually having agency in the things that I was creating. I had spent so long learning how to build things for other people. I never spent time figuring out how to build things for myself. Um, and yeah, that's kind of a bitch. But it's a recurring theme in my life. I tend to put my own needs off to the side and never actually acknowledge them because I can't. Like, I don't know. I haven't quite developed that ability yet to kind of really focus on what I need. But I'm getting there. It's taking a lot of work, a lot of practice, a lot of hackathons, but like personal hackathons, and that's something that I do for myself. I will give myself a hackathon if I need to create some energy for myself. And typically I'll throw something out into the world, or I'll throw something on Twitter about an idea, and try to just see where I can go with it. Because I just have to work in bursts now because I never know how much energy I'm going to be able to focus on kind of the coding aspect of it. And so what we're going to do here is we're really going to look at this through the lens of the network of people that you actually know. And I say that you actually know because we're going to ask them to do things. Um, and I've learned that when you meet people online and things like on Twitter, you can ask them for things and be really off about how small of a thing you'll be able to get anyone to do. Um, it's actually a bit astonishing at times. Like, asked for very small things that people aren't willing to offer. And this was something I wasn't quite aware of until I got to see what, real friendship was, and just this having people who truly trusted you and believed in you, um, and are willing to go the extra mile on your behalf. That's what really fucking matters. And so, what you want to do is, as we are getting into this idea for a hackathon, I want you to really think about the friends that you know who have your back, um, and would be fun to like jam with and just explore ideas with and say, hey, fuck it, let's see if we can make some part of the world a little bit better. Um, and we're gonna do this kind of with tech, but like tech doesn't fucking matter. All right. Yes, it's a hackathon. Tech is the focus. There's going to be people there who will tell you that tech is everything, and they are fucking wrong because the tech doesn't matter. Um, and the tech doesn't matter because it's changing so fast that it can't matter. The only thing that matters is the people. Um, and so, what we're going to do kind of through this process in preparing for the hackathon. Um, so this is a general kind of document. I just used Claude to help me come up with it. I don't think having a specific document of exactly what hackathons are um, is going to be particularly helpful. But this is here for people to just kind of eyeball it and get a general idea. And this is a thing that I've realized I don't need to be as exact as I always think I need to be. Most people aren't going to sit and read all of this. People don't go to information for information. Let me say that again because I didn't realize that. People don't go to information for information. They go to information for permission. They go to information for comfort. We have information everywhere around us. You can go online and you can spend 10 hours figuring out every single ideal hackathon strategy and how to optimize every minute of your time spent on the hackathon. And you can come at it with absolutely nothing. What I want to do here is I want to make this as simple as possible. The details don't matter in this, the memes do. We're going to compress things down to memes that are easy to understand. We've got the meme of the hackathon. I don't actually need you to understand perfectly what exactly a hackathon is. All you need to understand is the vibe of the hackathon. The vibe of the hackathon? Builder energy. All right. So why do we go to a hackathon? We go to a hackathon to surround ourselves with builder energy. Why builder energy? If you've never been around builder energy, first of all, we're going to fix that. Builder energy is looking at the world through the lens that anything can be fixed. It doesn't matter how big the problem is. Maybe you've heard of the saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Builder energy looks at any type of problem as an elephant. The size of the problem doesn't matter. And in fact, the bigger the problem that you are working on, the higher status you are. Let me say that again, because this is something that isn't obvious outside of tech, Silicon Valley culture. Like, in a lot of cultures in the world, people experience what is kind of known as tall poppy syndrome, or you may have heard it called, like, crabs in a bucket, things like that, or kind of some other metaphors that have been used. But basically, the idea is that, like, the people who try to stand out are, like, cut back down. All the poppies in the field are the same length, or same height. When you have a bunch of crabs in a bucket, if one of them tries to escape, the others will pull it back down. Um, Builder energy is the opposite. Builder energy is all about lifting others up and helping everybody take bigger steps forward. It's more about collaboration than competition. And some of these values have been bastardized over the years. And when I speak about, like, tech and Silicon Valley culture, um, I'm not necessarily talking about exactly the culture that exists in these realms today. Um, what I'm more referring to is the culture that has existed there traditionally. Um, and we want to take that traditional Silicon Valley energy um, and translate that into other areas of the world, other cultures, other locations, right? So we want to take that builder energy, we want to take that belief that a small group of people can go out and change the world, and we want to roll with that and we want to turn that into security and stability for ourselves, don't we? I know I sure fucking do. Um, and so that's what we're gonna do. And let's see. So we've got the meme of the hackathon. We've got an idea what that means now, right? Um, and now we want to have this sense of like stability and security that isn't available to us in a job. Um, unless you are, you know, wealthy enough to have created that or a savvy enough investor. I didn't really know what investing was or why you would do it until like pretty recently. Like I kind of did it, but I never worried about it because my feelings were that I would always be able to like make enough money to survive. Like I was able to, as I said earlier, I was able to kind of move up the ranks of the software engineering world relatively quickly. I was able to increase my salary quite a bit, but I realized that like for as fast as I was advancing, my salary, it wasn't fast enough to like improve my situation in life, right? Like I never got further. I just stayed in the same place. That's what I'm done with here. We're not going to stay in the same place. We're going to create a little snowball and then we're going to roll it down the mountain and we're going to turn that into a giant fucking boulder of snow that is going to go, I don't know, crush a village and then replace it with something better or something like that. It's actually probably a bad example because I'm all about creating villages, not destroying them. So maybe it will like, I don't know, wash through a deserted town and like refurbish it or something. I don't know. We can make it creative. With AI, we can do anything. Um, anyway, but sometimes you have to destroy shit, and that's something I have to get better at. I don't. I typically want to be a little too nice with things, um, and so I think at some point I'm going to need to do more to embrace kind of my super villain arc here. Um, but that's neither here nor there. Um, okay. So, the other idea here, I guess, that I didn't get into at the hackathon is so okay, so you've got this time period and you're kind of building something, some sort of idea, you're working together on this team. And at the end, you kind of typically have like um, a presentation. I look at it kind of like a science fair presentation if you had those, where you just kind of share what you've done and you maybe show a demo, um, talk about what you built. Sometimes there's different categories of prizes, they'll have different judges. If we take a look at this hackathon here, we've got all sorts of cool judges. So Greg Eisenberg, if you don't know Greg, Greg, I think, is one of the most on the nose people in terms of trends that I've seen. I really enjoy listening to his breakdown of things. Um, got the Startup Ideas podcast. Check that out. Also got a great newsletter. At some point, I'm going to be joining his community as I get things kicked off with kind of my own stuff so that I can just improve everything that I'm doing by kind of seeing how the people who've gone before me have done it. Peter Levels, kind of famous indie hacker from Twitter. Big following, lots of products. Most recently has vibe coded a flight simulator to an absurd amount of money, which is great because he was able to do that. But one of the problems with that is then like a bunch of people see that and they think, oh, well, I'm going to start vibe coding this game. And then people will see it and play it. And the thing is that like most people won't because they don't care about you. They care about Peter. Um, because he's Peter, he's a celebrity in like in the eyes of the people who are following him. And so when he does something like vibe codes a simulator, people are like, oh, wow, that's cool. When you, an anon on Twitter with 2,000 followers says, I'm going to vibe code a game. People are like, who the fuck are you, loser? And that's kind of the funny thing about Twitter is it gives us these really weird lenses through which we judge kind of the people and the actions that we're seeing. Um, and so I do want to make sure that we're not running into that sort of thing. Sarah here, I've heard Sarah on some podcasts. I really like her ideas. Um, KP's big in the build and public space. I've learned quite a bit from him. Ben Tossel from Ben's Bites. Um, then other people that I'm not as familiar with. But so one of the cool things here is that there's a lot of distribution in the judges. And so if you find something that tickles the heart of one of the judges, this is your opportunity to turn that into some very, very valuable attention. Because if you can go through a trusted voice like a Greg or a KP or a Sarah, your product is going to be received way better than if somebody saw it tweeted out from you. It could be the exact same video, the exact same tweet, but it doesn't have the built-in trust. All of the research and everything I've done around the way human networks work, around the way money works, all of it, it all ends up coming back to trust. Hackathons, and in a particular case, this hackathon, because it's more true for this hackathon than any other hackathon. Um, but this ability to tap into that level of distribution from the judges, that level of trust from the judges. We are in a world that is finding it very, very hard to trust people. And so we're doubling down on the relationships that we do have that are trusted. This means two things. It means we're typically over trusting the people that we're used to trusting for information. But it also makes us more skeptical of new people with information that may be valuable, like may be of value to us. And this is something I'm really looking at with one of the tools that I'm building, in trying to figure out how to visualize like different representations of how ideas connect in non-obvious ways so that I don't let myself get blinded by my own limited viewpoint. I want to create a system that allows me to overcome my blind spots. And it's something that I think we all need to be able to do. Because it's how we get better. And something I've realized about myself is when I decide I want to play a game to win, I fucking play that game to win. A lot of games I don't play to win. A lot of games I play to learn. Or I play to have fun. Playing to win is different. And what I've realized is that in the game of business, I have to play to win. Mostly because if I don't, I will eventually be homeless and starve because I can't go work for somebody else anymore. I just can't do it. And so, it's a matter of just figuring it out. And the good news is, it's not actually nearly as hard as I made it. It's only hard if you're challenging the entire idea of money, um, and realizing that prices are all completely wrong. Because the fun part of that research is then guess what? It's really fucking hard to negotiate prices with people because you're like prices are all wrong. Um, and again, this is where I think it would have been really helpful to have somebody who was kind of an established entrepreneurship mentor, to help me kind of like navigate some of this. And so this is what I'm kind of trying to put out in the world, to make some of that easier because it's hard. There are so many things you have to overcome in yourself in order to truly embrace the idea of entrepreneurship, especially if you're not someone who has traditionally given much thought to entrepreneurship. It's a very different kind of world, but if I had to start my 5 years over again, I would do things a little differently. And specifically, I would do things in the way that I'm going to be showing here. Um, and so, what we're going to do, we're actually going to get into how to create a business. And so, let's go ahead and create a box here, and we will say a business. Okay, so what is a business? By the way, shout out to Sublime here, using Sublime Canvas because we're going to bring in some cool ideas here. Um, Sari Azut, the founder of Sublime, is an absolute inspiration to me. Um, she's one of the people I followed as someone who is doing things the right way. And so I love what she's got with Sublime, and it's just an incredibly pleasant tool to use. It's peaceful. It's a garden. It's lovely. Okay. Anyway, now that I'm done shilling Sublime, and I love Sublime, like I do. I do have an affiliate link, and if you ask for it, I will give it to you. Um, but mostly just go sign up for Sublime. I don't care if you use my affiliate link or not. Just it's worth it for your brain. Okay, so what is a system, or what is a business? So a business is a system. And actually, let's go ahead and okay. I don't see a lot of ideas in there that I like right now, but that's fine, because these are ideas that I've already come up with. So, a business is a system, um, and actually, specifically, it's a system that creates value. And so, creates value is kind of a weird phrase. It's something that you will hear thrown about all sorts of ways. Um, and so, we're going to talk about specifically what creating value means. Um, but it's not as hard as we think it is. So, um, but a business isn't just a system that creates value. It's a system that creates value in a repeatable and predictable way. Okay. So this is important. So there's four things, right? So there's what is a business? It's a system. Okay. That's the first thing. Business is a system. It's a system that creates value. That's the second part. It's got to create value. And it's got to do it repeatably over and over and over. Okay, cool. But it's not just enough that it does it over and over. It has to do it over and over predictably. If it's not predictable, it's not something you can count on. If it's not something you can count on, it's not something you can create as the foundation of like security and stability for yourself, right? So, what we want to do with our business is we want to create a system that creates value in a repeatable and predictable way. Cool. That's pretty easy. So, how do we do that? Okay. So, let's go ahead and we will create our system. So, we're going to start with some inside the box thinking. The box is a business. And so we'll call this a system. So with a system, the way I look at it is the key to a system is basically there's a part that's inside the system, and then there's a part that's outside the system. And what this like means in practice is that there are very clear boundaries between what's inside of the system versus what's outside of the system. The stuff inside of the business is the stuff that you can control. Okay. So okay. I guess I'll put that inside the business. If I can spell. Okay. So now we've got our business system here. And so by being a system, we're differentiating between what's inside the system and what's outside of the system. And we're going to say that anything inside of your business is something you can control. Anything outside of the system is something you can influence. I want this to be very clear. I do mean anything outside of the business is something you can influence. That doesn't mean it's easy to influence anything. So the problem here is like, okay, so what do we control in order to exert the right influence on the right people in the right market? Right? So we need to think about what's inside of our control. And so starting off, one of the things that I've decided with Build in Public University, and actually I can show this here. So I came up with the value prop that I really love for Build in Public University. So Build in Public University helps people go from idea to market with no previous knowledge, network, or skills required. It's a bold fucking claim. And I'm doing this as somebody with a shit ton of previous knowledge, a network that I've been hammering at for 5 years trying to build up, and a shit ton of incredibly valuable skills that I'm incredibly bad at monetizing. So I'm being upfront with all of that because I want it to be very, very obvious that I am saying that none of these things are required to start, but they will be required to get there. So it then becomes a matter of what knowledge, network, and skills do you require? And that's up to you. I can't make that decision for you. Because if I told you what network skills and knowledge you required, you would only be able to build a business that would align with me. I don't want a business that aligns with me. I want you to create a business that aligns with you. Because if you create a business that aligns with you, I can create a business that aligns with your business because I can trust that your business is aligned with you. And I'll have developed the trust with you, right? So this is something that I want to point extra attention to. We get to decide the future that we create for ourselves. This doesn't mean that we can get everything we want. This doesn't mean we can snap our fingers and our lives will be better. This doesn't mean that anybody owes you a damn thing. The reality of a business is that you're on your own and nobody fucks. Nobody fucking cares. Nobody fucks. That's a weird thing to say. Nobody fucking cares. Also, nobody fucking cares that it's a weird fucking thing to say because nobody's currently watching this. I don't think. Maybe they are. I don't actually know. Oh, we have one person on Twitch. Excellent. Very cool. Doesn't actually matter how many people are watching. I can still do it. Okay. So I think we're probably good on that now. So let's go back to the Hackathon Training Camp. Okay. So anything inside the business is something you can control. Anything outside the business is something you can influence. And so we don't need any knowledge, skills, or network to start. But the good news is we all have those. Okay, cool. So the next question then starts with you. Okay, so I mentioned my idea called the personal enterprise, my framework, right? And so the personal enterprise says that you are the core of your business. This means as you go, so your business goes. You'll probably see people who will fight back against this and be like, oh, your business is not your identity. Correct. But your personal enterprise is. And this is something that I want to go a bit deeper on because you've probably heard of people talk about things like personal branding and why you need to have a strong personal brand. And I hate that fucking term. I think it's stupid. I have always kind of cringed at it. And I've also realized how important it is. But I think that's too shallow of a way to look at it. I'm not building a personal brand. I'm building a personal enterprise. An enterprise is a series of interconnected systems that all work together toward a common set of incentives. Everything has to be aligned on this idea of shareholder value. And so instead of kind of doing it that way, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on understanding your core values, and then aligning kind of everything you do on those core values and the core values of the networks that you want to become a part of. Um, okay, so um, okay, let's see. What do I have in values? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, okay. Where did that go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Um, Also, I really need to go through and clip more of my own papers to get in here. Okay, so here I'm pulling in this reference. You know, being seen for the unique value each person can contribute. And so the value that each person can contribute is based on the values of each person. And so you really need to understand, like, what are your core values? And here I'm actually going to pull up, let me see if I can find it here. Here we go. Okay. So um, here's this great kind of blog from Corey on understanding how to kind of like dig into your core values. He's got a course on building an intentional life. Um, and so, as you can see, like, create a life and business aligned with your values. Um, I've worked with Corey a bit, as has Ali Abdal. I'm actually, probably one of the lowest status people that Corey's worked with. But I appreciate that he has, really helped me a lot. And one of the things that he talks about quite a bit is this idea of focusing in on core values, um, because you have to do that to really align who you are with like what your goals are. And if you're not clear on who you are at the core, you're not going to know where you need to go to get where you want to go. Because, like, you're going to be starting from the wrong spot. And so, as you're trying to map out the journey that you want to take, you're never going to actually end up where you think you're going. And so, you know, you need to really pull into those core values and understand, like, what you want to do. And so, and I love the fact that Corey has this sales page here that's really helping me illustrate these ideas. So, maybe go out and buy his course. Um, but so, clarify what matters, create meaningful goals, maximize leverage, make high impact decisions, develop the confidence to move forward, overcome limiting beliefs and self sabotage. You know, if you look at this sounds a lot like a CEO. First of all, because Corey coaches a lot of CEOs, right? He's a like executive coach. Like, he coaches executives who are trying to make big impacts on the world. So if there are people who are applying this to big companies, to world changing initiatives, why aren't you applying them to your life? That's the idea of the personal enterprise. It's saying, I'm taking all of these ideas and I am just applying them to my own life, my own goals. And I'm going to use that to move forward to the life that I want to live. Um, and so, like, there's all sorts of demonstrable ideas from Corey's course, and I think you should take this. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I love the fact that I'm actually on his page. I didn't even realize that. So this is cool. Um, and so like, yeah, this is like it was so fucking simple. Um, and in this case, it was just taking a walk without headphones each day. And it's actually kind of funny by like blurring that out. Exactly what that trick was, because it sounds fucking stupid. If you're looking at a coaching sales page and you're like, "Oh, what? He told this guy to fucking walk without headphones in?" Like, "Oh, good. Yeah, I'm great. I'm glad it, changed this dude's life, whoever the fuck he is." But that's not gonna fix my problem. My problems are way bigger. All of our biggest problems stem from the same small issues that get amplified because they get ignored. Um, One of the things I was running into in this particular case was that I am an information addict. I love reading and I love learning. And so anytime I'm doing stuff, I'm like, yeah, any break, I'm pulling out my phone. I'm like reading an article. I'm scrolling Twitter. I've always got a podcast in. And so as I was talking to Corey about this, he was like, "When was the last time you took a walk like without headphones in, without somebody else's thoughts like going into your ear?" And I had never even thought about the fact that like this thing that I enjoyed, that I was getting really high quality information out of, like I spent time curating very specific podcasts. Like I have podcasts that I listen to every single week because I get so much valuable information out of that. But it's amazing how powerful making a slight change to occasionally take an walk without my earbuds in. It's amazing how much clarity that literally gave me. It was stupid fucking simple, but it was a huge result. And this is what coaching does. This is why I do love like what Corey has created. And I don't mean to turn this into like an ad for Corey, although like obviously you should go buy his course and then probably join his new community. Um, so anyway, okay, there you go. Corey Wilkes, creatoralchemy.com. He's got a new podcast too, I think. Um, Check that out. Anyway, let's get back into kind of this idea. So, what are your core values? So, we're going to talk about that exercise. Um, and kind of go through what our core values are. And so, in my case, um, I have done a lot of work on figuring out everything that I value. As I said earlier, I'm really bad at knowing like what I need and like what I care about because I don't know, I've always been able to appreciate what's in front of me. And so I get excited to enjoy what other people are excited by. Um, which was great until I got excited by my own stuff and then realized that nobody was excited about my stuff. Um, and this is something that like nobody was excited by the stuff because I wasn't able to communicate the stuff that I was excited about. It was this like self-fulfilling prophecy. I ended up just doing everything kind of internally and individually, and I got so good at that, I lost all ability to like work effectively with others on like helping them see what was going on in my thought process. Every system I'd been part of was like, I don't actually care about your thought process. Unless it's like, we need to make sure that it conforms to this thought process that we're expecting you to have. Um, it's fucking weird. And so I just learned to not share all of that because nobody cared. Nobody wanted to go deeper with me. So I just went deep by myself. But then I realized also by doing that, nobody actually appreciated the depth that I went into with things. And this is one of the like realizations about kind of what we value and what's going wrong in enterprises right now. Um, the people who are providing the most value are the ones who are typically the ones who aren't talking about how much value they're creating. Um, you end up self-selecting for the people who are best able to recall the work they've done in some coherent story that doesn't actually necessarily have to translate back to reality. And so in companies, this manifests as all sorts of really weird um, promotions to people that are better at playing the game of business in that specific company than they are about doing something meaningful within the work that they're doing. Um, and so it's, and I started off this with what my core values are, and I actually still haven't said them. And it's funny because they're so fucking simple. So let's just do that. Um, so my core values are kindness, generosity, and curiosity. And I actually have them in this order. So kindness is first because kindness costs nothing. There is not an energy cost to being kind. It's actually one of the biggest energy savers you can have. I don't know if you've ever realized how much energy you expend when you get upset about something, when you get angry. It's really great to have those kinds of emotions when you have something to put that energy into. But again, I'm kind of working towards designing stuff that is aligned for people who are burnt out. They don't have a ton of energy. Man, ain't nobody got time to be mad. Like, no, I'm not gonna be pissed off at you for some online interaction. I simply don't care that much. I want to spend my energy doing things that I enjoy. And so kindness to me is just a default. I'm going to avoid anyone else's attempt to bring me into the mud. Um, I want to stay kind, and I'm not always 100% on that, but for the most part, I do very well with aligning on my value of kindness. Next up is generosity. So generosity does require you to give something. Um, and I think people get caught up on generosity with the idea of giving money. Money isn't like money is great, And actually, a lot of people need money right now. And one of my whole things is that we kind of face a liquidity crisis. And so everybody needs more money. So certainly be generous with your tips and whatnot if you can. But again, everybody is short on cash, which means that it's hard to be generous when you don't have enough for yourself. So I don't expect you to give out cash if you don't have it. But you can be generous in other ways. You can be generous with your time, with your attention. You can be generous with your filtering. What if you accept a message from somebody that, maybe you kind of like look down on what they're doing, or, you don't necessarily see the value in it. But maybe they've reached out to you, like, can you be kind and just, or can you be generous and just, share something with them? And it doesn't need to be much, but what I found, and it ties up to this here, right? So economy is built on seeing. Um, I believe generosity is a great way to see people, because generosity is going above the expected. And the expected is exactly like the non-human level, because the expected is the expectation. It's not anything out of the ordinary. It's not remarkable. It's not worth remarking upon. And so being generous says, oh, hey, I see that you are more than just this label, this role. I see that you are you. And that, to me, I think generosity is an incredibly powerful thing. And finally, curiosity. So curiosity requires the most energy, but it's also a self-sustaining energy. Curiosity begets curiosity, because when you realize that you can always go deeper, there's always a deeper to go. And trust me, you can go pretty fucking deep right now. Problem is, it makes it a lot harder for you to relate with people who aren't as curious about everything. But the great news is I have all sorts of weird shit stored up in my heads in my heads. Oh my God, I am having trouble talking now. Um, okay. All of this weird shit stored up in my head that makes a really cool party trick. Um, because it doesn't matter what topic you come to me with, I probably have some weird tangential thing in my head that relates to that. And so it's not uncommon for me to like be talking to someone and they will mention that they've like been into some like obscure like topic and all of this. And I'll be like, oh yeah, like I spent like a couple weeks like digging into this and blah blah blah. It's easy for me to dig into things because I'm insanely curious. As I said, I'm addicted to information. I always want to learn more. I realize this is because I have a lack. As I was saying earlier, people don't go to information for information. I like to pretend that I'm going to information for the sake of information, but a lot of times I'm going to information for the sake of avoiding something I don't want to feel, or avoiding, um, the uncomfortable of not knowing how something will turn out. Um, which means the singularity is going to be fucking weird, right? Because the whole thing with the singularity is this idea that you can't see past it because everything is changing kind of all at once. But the reality isn't quite that way, because it's all changing at these very local levels, and you can kind of see different patterns emerge. And so when you get curiosity, or when you get curious about these kind of things, you can really dig deeper and start seeing some of these patterns emerge. And so the trick, as we, are in the singularity, and my unpopular opinion that may or may not turn out to be true, is that basically, like, the singularity is basically going to be considered the point from like approximately like 1980-ish to 2035, 2040. Yeah, I'd say probably a 60-year singularity sounds good. Um, the problem with the way we view time is that we look back on time and think that everything happened synchronously because we discuss the stories synchronously, right? Everybody lived through World War II, but like people did very different things during World War II. And so we kind of only look back at the collective and then are like, and people did this. We don't break it down into subsets of things because simply like we can't. By the time we would like account for all of the edge cases of everything in all of our language, we would never actually get anything fucking said because you would end up writing like I write, where you start going off on tangents and all sorts of shit, because everything is connected. God damn it. Um, I digress. Um, and this is why AI is a godsend for me because it helps me communicate in ways that humans can read. Um, And it turns out that the way I communicate in information dumps is great for AI. So, okay. So anyway, these are my core values. So I recommend you spend a lot of time thinking about yours. Um, okay, cool. So what are we gonna do next? Okay. So we've got this idea that a business is a system that creates value in a repeatable and sustainable way. Anything inside the business is something you can control. Anything outside the business is something you can influence. You are the core of your business, and so you need to know your core values. Okay, and I have been going now for about an hour and 15 minutes, and I think this might be a good place to stop for today. Um, And I think I'm going to stream again tomorrow to pick up from this because I wasn't sure how many streams it would take for me to kind of get through all of these ideas. Because it depends on how much I ramble when I do them. So, um, okay. So yeah, I think we're gonna stop here um, for today. But I do want to introduce kind of the overarching view of this training camp and how it's going to run. Um, because they specifically reflect my core values. And so I think this is how we can really tie this into the larger story. And so there is a product called Indie Parrot um, that my friend Jessica from Twitter started building. And so her idea was that entrepreneurs are busy, like, and specifically indie hackers. So she's in the indie hacker community, hence Indie Parrot. Um, and she was like, okay, so I can just have entrepreneurs record a voice note, send it to me, and then I'll turn that into a newsletter. Um, and honestly, like, I really admired Jessica because she's doing all of this, like, while not actually knowing how, like, she's been teaching herself how to code along the way. And she's been doing it while also, like, maintaining her life and working a full time job with, like, crazy hours. And honestly, her story just really, like, it offers me a ton of inspiration. And so, I have I was her first user, um, and you were going through it and have all sorts of newsletters that we were creating. But one of the things I realized was that like she hadn't been able to automate it yet because like everything she was doing and trying to figure out how to learn to code. And she doesn't have a ton of time to spend on it because like, she's got her life and her job. And so there are all of these like conflicting issues for time. And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't sound like a great thing, right? Um, and so, okay, I'm burnt out on coding, as I mentioned earlier, but I'm not burnt out on helping people. And the cool thing about this is I have been playing around with some very similar ideas. And actually, if you've seen previous streams, I've talked about developing a partnership with Gladia for um, audio transcription and building out some things around that. Um, and one of the things I realized is okay, Jessica has an idea that I think has a lot of merit. I think it can actually tie into some of the things that I'm building out around Build Public University and some of the things that I want to create. Because if you think about this episode, the audio from this episode isn't that dissimilar from a voice memo to create a newsletter from, right? Okay. So now we're starting to see that, okay, this maybe ties into how I'm doing this. How can we work this up together? And so as I've been thinking about how to create a community that is effective and things like that, and how we can make AI as impactful as possible in all the right ways, I went to the first place that you naturally go, which is, of course, the Amish. Um, and shout out to the Amish who are definitely not watching this stream. I can say that with a fact. Um, but actually, I think there's something very specifically about the Amish community that speaks to me here because they've created a community that is self-sustaining, it is change resistant, um, and it has created a culture that people can walk away from and experience all of the miracles of modern life and be like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna go back to the Amish. Talk about a strong fucking community. How strong of a community do you have to be to let your, 16, 18, 20 year olds, however old they are during the Rumspringa? I actually do have a deep research report on this if you're interested. I got really into it. Um, there's, they let people go out in the world. And so how fucking solid of a community do you have to be like, oh yeah, no, like you've never like really had electricity, but like, no, go out, fucking go riding away, Mo. Play a video game, like fucking, play some Fortnite. Um, Eat a fucking big ass bowl of ramen. Uh, Go out and fucking, smoke a joint, hit the club. Like a lot of fucking temptations out in the world, and yet the Amish culture persists outside of it. Talk about strong fucking memetics. I think this is my favorite definition of memetics right now. Memetics is the glue that holds the culture together. So the memetics of a culture is the glue that holds the culture together. And the fucking Amish memetics are fire. Um, so let's fucking model our shit off the Amish, shall we? Specifically, I love the idea of a barn raising. So if you're not familiar, when either like something happens and somebody loses a barn, or like a couple gets married and they need like a house and a barn or whatever, the community gets together and they have this like big event, and they do this barn raising, and they are known for creating these like incredibly like solid structures super fucking quickly. And they do this because it's like they don't have to worry about the incentive structures. The incentive is that you need to get the member of your community up and running as fast as possible so that they are contributing to the rest of the community. In the world that we've created now, our communities are so fractured, we don't have that connection anymore. We don't understand where our work is going, who it's benefiting. So it's like, why the fuck would I go raise their barn? Nobody's gonna come help me raise my fucking barn. The Amish don't have that because they make sure everybody has help raising a barn. If you're part of the community, you get the benefits of being part of that community. There is no, you're kind of part of this. You're very much in or you're out. Okay, so what the fuck does this have to do with indie hacking? Great question. I'm glad you asked. So in this case, we're going to do a barn raising with Indie Parrot. And we're going to do this because I want to help Jessica get this off the ground and turn it into a really solid cash flowing business, that she can use to really take back ownership over her own life. Because I fucking hate seeing people have to deal with the bullshit hours and the bullshit work and everything, and just not having that freedom. And so I want to get Jessica's barn up as quickly as possible so that we can really get this community off the ground as quickly as possible. And so, as part of that, what we're doing is the community that I've got alongside Building Public University, um, is a paid community. And for the month of May, and until we get Indie Parrot off the ground, um, half of the revenue goes to Jessica as her barn fund, her bootstrap fund, right? Like, so this is kind of like a way to like bring a community together and help bootstrap someone who is new to it. And so um, it's a I think for this week, I'm just going to keep the price at $99 to join. It's just a one-time fee. It's not a recurring thing. This is just a one-time thing. This is your commitment to the community. You're buying into the community, um, to help it like achieve its goals, and then we're going to grow it and we're going to make it more robust. And so for this first week, it'll be $99 for the flat fee. Then I'm gonna bump it up to 249. Although there will be some deals available too, if you know where to look. So keep your eyes open if that's something you're needing, or just get it this week while it's currently 99. Um, and yeah, so we're gonna set that up, and then Jessica's gonna get half of this money raised as her bootstrap fund to really start scaling things. Once we get things off the ground, we're gonna want to you know do some go to market activities and things like that. And so the idea here is hopefully to get her a fund to actually start deploying some of that capital, because I realized that like one of the hardest things as an indie hacker, as you're trying to like get to income replacement, is like spending money on the business. And this is something that like I've gotten really great at doing all sorts of free shit, but like I need to teach myself better to like spend money to make money. Um, and so I'm building out this process with this idea of like setting Jessica up with a case where she doesn't need to have to worry about that, because it's like it's built into the process. It's part of everything that I've learned, and I know she's actually run other businesses before too, so she probably has way more experience with this than I do, in terms of that aspect of it. But this is something where it's like I can help get stuff off the ground much faster, and then we can actually use that as like open source code. And I think open source is incredibly important here, not just for like inside the community, but for everybody. And this is something Jessica asked me about. She's like, well, like, are we worried about people like joining the community and like, or, not joining the community and just using the code and like taking advantage of it and not giving back? And it was like, well, not really, because like the code is actually like, so as an indie hacker, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build this ecosystem of tools that all work together. And so this is what I'm looking at with like Build in Public University. And I want things that can connect to build value creation systems above and beyond what any of us could do individually. And so I want to create something here that we can put out into the world and have it out there as insurance that even if like this idea goes away and something happens, all of the stuff that other people will depend on still exists, that somebody else can spin up like a version of it, or people can build their own. They can change it. Right now, as I said kind of earlier, like the technology doesn't matter at all. Like technology is changing so quickly, it doesn't factor into any of the value equations because the rate of change is too fast to even make sense of for people. And that's what the singularity ends up being for us. And so we've got to rethink how we structure communities to really value the people and the relationships and all of that. And so by open sourcing it, what we're doing is we're kind of recognizing that relying on a new entry to the market as part of your business is a risky endeavor. Um, but we are putting it out into the world with the idea that others will be able to build on it, others will be able to help us improve it. And that's the other thing, right? As an indie hacker, you're not going to be able to keep up on everything with all the security and everything like that, but the world can. And so if you put stuff out that's valuable, others are incentivized to contribute to it when they see something that they can do for it. And as we make kind of the knowledge distribution happen more seamlessly, and a lot faster, um, then we're going to be able to um, basically set up systems that will um, benefit the people involved by kind of sharing information outside of like the systems we've defined. And this is something that people don't realize is like all of these businesses that are systems that only recognize what's inside the business. But as we talked about earlier, a system or a business is a system that, has an inside that it can control and an outside that it can influence. And so far the world has been focused on maximizing the amount of control they have, maximizing the volume, or the, yeah, I guess volume's a sphere. So if we think about it like a sphere, let's make it a circle, and we could say like the area of the circle. So companies are focused on expanding the area of the circle. But my research shows that as the area of the circle expands, as the locus of control expands, the level of risk starts going up, higher and higher and higher. And so what you need to do is you actually need to create systems where you minimize the amount of stuff you control and maximize the amount of stuff that you have predictable influence over. And so predictable influence comes from trust. And because predictable influence comes from trust, this is why we're doing it the open source way. This is why everything is through like transparent means. And this is how we're going to have this barn raising that is going to be the kickoff for the Build in Public University community, that really starts encoding the values of me personally into the systems that I'm building. Because I want the systems that I'm building to take people who believe in them and can elevate those people to new heights that they never believed were possible before, heights that I couldn't have achieved because the stuff doesn't exist yet. So, how do we build systems that enable the people behind us to be better than us? That's a blow to the fucking ego, but it's already happening way faster than people realize. And we're about to hit a shift. And this shift is all around networks, and that's what we're going to focus on. So I'm at the hour and a half mark. I need to go take a break, take a walk, clear my head. So I will see you again tomorrow. I'm not sure what time yet. I have to figure this out. Mostly, I'm streaming these and they're going to be recorded and put in the community out on YouTube, things like that. So, benefit of the community, you get the videos without any of the ads and shit that YouTube fucking sticks in. So that is a side benefit, and there's going to be more benefits too, as we go on. But yeah, as the community grows, it becomes easier for me to negotiate on behalf of the community to bring in perks and cool shit. So that's what we want to do. So we're going to talk about the community. We're going to bring in cool people, and we're going to grow it, and we're going to raise this barn, and it's going to be fucking epic. And then we're all going to enter the Bolt Hackathon in May/June, end of May into to the end of June, and we're going to fucking dominate that. And suddenly, the whole fucking world is going to take notice. So yeah, I will leave you with that today. Thank you again. I am Leo Guinan, Build in Public University. This is the Hackathon Training Camp, and we will be going for the next few weeks to get you ready for that Bolt Hackathon, because everybody deserves a chance at freedom, because god damn it, everybody deserves to be free. We need to build the systems that make sure that that can happen. And that's what we're doing. So build our fucking energy right here. Let's go. Let's bring it. And that's it for today. I will catch you tomorrow. And we'll fucking do it again. And I appreciate you. I love you all. Go out, build something, make the world a better place. And give one of your friends a call. There you go. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.